We're 3.5 years removed from the Stefanowski-Lamont battle. And I guess my question is to the media. So now, for 2022, you're really going to ask the elected leaders about Donald Trump, or the incoming potential candidates about Donald Trump? That is where we're going to be. That is going to be part of the question and answer scenario. I mean, I know it's already happened to Mr. Stefanowski. He's had to deal with it a couple of different times in his first couple of interviews. And my response to that, as what I hope to be a fair thinking minded American citizen, is that if the media is going to focus on Donald Trump for a question and answer from the Republican candidates, I hope, in fairness, that the media will make sure that they point out the absolute horrid first year that Joe Biden has put forth for himself. One of our, number one listeners, Linda, was going back and forth in the comment section of this particular piece. You should read the piece, and then comment as you would like. But she had gone back and forth with some of the idiots online, and what I found amazing is that there are actually people out there, and this is really why I'm bringing this up today. I understand that there's going to be a certain level of favoritism towards Lamont in that race, towards any Democrat who's running in their race, but there's going to be a certain amount of favoritism, I guess, for lack of a better word, as far as the political process. Because most media outlets lean to the left. Fine. Talk radio tries to balance that out with some kind of conservative-minded thought, common sense thought, I would think. But what I wanted to focus in on, because we know that there's going to be a slanted writing bias towards Bob Stefanowski or towards Themis, who's running for Senate, and for whoever's running, Mike France, who's running for Congress, whoever's running against, in particular, a federal office, there's going to be a slant. Now, in a statewide office, it may not be so severe, or the angle of the slantness may not be as great, but it certainly will still be there, and you'll still be able to see it. But again, one of our great listeners, Linda, was pointing out how, essentially what I just said, how about making it fair play and say, listen, okay, you want to talk about Trump, fine, let's in the same debate that we're having, let's make sure we talk about Joe Biden. And some of the absolute brain dead responses, just one in particular I want to point out. George writes in to Linda's, he says, he talks about Biden's accomplishments. So I'm reading this, and I was actually reading this yesterday afternoon. I'm laughing. I'm like, I was laughing at first, and then I thought to myself, well, I'm laughing. Yes, it's funny that but there are people out there who vote that think like this. So the guy says, Biden's accomplishments this year include the $1.9 trillion COVID relief deal. Under Biden, more people have died than under Donald Trump. And that number grows every single day. His solutions for anything COVID related have not worked. So it doesn't matter about the $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill centers around continuing to pay for people to do nothing. And we're finding out now that isolation and the seclusion and the lockdown doesn't work. It's clear it doesn't work. He also says the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill. You remember that $1 trillion infrastructure bill, they wanted $5 trillion. Remember? Or almost 5. 4, I can't remember the exact, 5.3 or 4%, one of these numbers sticks in my head. Remember, just a couple of months ago, the so-called infrastructure bill which was ripe with all these payoffs to whomever and whoever was for it, and it had to do with green energy and sustainable energy, et cetera, et cetera. Supposedly that this amazing $5 trillion, he's what he wanted, and he got $1 trillion infrastructure bill. We'll see how much of that $1 trillion actually goes to infrastructure. That's something we can pay close attention to. Getting 72% of American adults fully vaccinated. Well, there are some folks out there who would disagree with the premise that forcing a vaccine on folks is a good idea, right? And one would be Neil Young, and I'll get to him in a second. But 72% of Americans are fully vaccinated with a vaccine that you need multiple doses of just to tread water. Multiple doses of the vaccine seem to be as productive as one person or as a single person getting the virus once, as far as immunity goes. Clearly, there is it's this warped mindset with us. He says getting federal judges appointed and confirmed. That's every president does that. And an economy where unemployment rate has dropped to 4.2% because you're giving everybody money. They're not going on unemployment anymore. It's just, are you trying to tell me, aside, I'm even going to give you the benefit of the doubt that Trump acted like a jackass half the time. Take away the personality and be honest with yourself. Are you telling me we're better off today, than we were 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Sorry. You can't be serious about that. You can't. You're living in this you're living in the metaverse. You're living in a crazy, foggy, uneven existence. The price of everything is through the roof. That's a direct result of your $1 trillion infrastructure package on top of your $2 trillion COVID relief package. Just in case you were wondering. The $3 trillion that they wanted probably more to be like 6 or 7 is why it costs almost double when you go to the store now. This is something we warned you of, okay? This is something that it's not going away anytime soon. It's not going to be like snap a finger and the cost of goods are going to go down suddenly. This may be here to stay, guys, at least for the foreseeable future. You may be paying 30 or 40% more for something because what they've done is they've artificially injected a boatload of cash into the system. They've been doing this now for the better part of 3 years, ever since COVID. The more you take a step back and really look at this whole Wuhan flu, and I'm not saying it doesn't exist, trust me, I know it exists, but the more you look at it, man, the more you have to say to yourself, what an amazing job in the world of opportunity, because they seized on this pandemic and they got a majority of the population literally running for their lives, and in doing so they grabbed an enormous amount of power. And if you want to even factor in the idea that this pandemic played a huge role in the last election, you can make an argument for that. And you can also make an argument that there's so much money that has been made by big pharma, or like a constant, non-stop cash register going over and over and over. It's remarkable. I don't have time. I'm looking at the clock. I have a million other things I want to say. I'm sorry about that. But one other thing before I go, and we can circle back to that if you guys want a little bit later on when we start taking phone calls. This country is founded, to me, on the First Amendment. I'm gonna say it's not first because it's not the most important. Listen, we can talk about all the stupid cliches we want. America is built on the idea that you have free thought. You have the ability to go on a street corner and speak your mind. If you disagree or are completely opposite of my beliefs, that's what makes this country great. You have the right to say it. You can get on a street corner, and as long as you're not inciting violence, you can say what you want to say. I'd like somebody to tell me. Now, I don't listen to Joe Rogan. I don't have time. I mean, his podcasts are like 90 minutes long. I don't have time in the day. Like some people send me excerpts and I might watch. There are a couple doctors that have been on there recently that I find fascinating, but I'm not going to watch Joe Rogan get high with Snoop Dogg. I don't give a damn about that. It doesn't mean anything to me. It's fine. Some people find it incredibly entertaining and great. For me, it's not necessarily the place I'm going to spend a majority of my free time. But some of the conversations he's had with medical folks about COVID, I thought have been really interesting. And I don't know, like, if he goes off the rails on a regular basis and talks about you shouldn't get a vaccine, you shouldn't do this, you should do that. I don't know. I only know what I do every day here on the radio, and I say it's a personal choice what you do and how you do it and what you put in your body, etc. Until somebody proves to me that I am a clear and present threat to your safety and security, I have chosen not to get a vaccine. That's my business, right? But I don't understand how somebody like Neil Young, right, can try to use this power play and say to Spotify, take down Joe Rogan's stuff, otherwise you can't play my music. Now, Neil has a right to do that because this is a country of freedom. So if Neil wants to get together and say with his musical buddies, let's pull our stuff off Spotify because Rogan's stuff is bogus, he actually has a right to do that. And we should respect that right, that Neil Young is willing to take his stuff off of a platform and lose revenue because of it. What's amazing to me is, and I talked about this last week, is that the liberal mindset in the 60s and 70s is so vastly different than it is today. Now it's about squelching free speech. Back then it was about promoting free speech, free love. Everything that your mind can conjure up should be able to be spoken in a town square. Here, these Hollywoodites and these musicians and whomever are looking for more government control, not less. They want more government oversight, not less. In the limited amount that I've watched Joe Rogan, I don't think he's done anything that would warrant anyone saying, don't listen to his stuff, don't do this, I want to have people with different points of view and different opinions on different platforms so folks can disseminate it and discern it and listen to it for themselves and make a decision instead of having Big Brother tell them what they can do and what they should.